Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2021 Innosight Workshop. I'm your MC today. My name is Rebecca. This workshop is organized by Department of Industrial Technology of Ministry of Economic Affairs and implemented by Industrial Technology Research Institute. The Innosight Workshop has been held since 2014. And over the past 8 years, we have a lot of fruitful and informative exchanges with our partners from Southeast Asia on issues including industrial development and business model innovation, also circular economy, and so on, which brings us a lot of informative insights to learn. And in today's workshop, we're going to discuss on the following issues about the building STI capacity for post-pandemic resilient economy development. And also, we will focus on the two topics. The first one will be understanding the STI policies and strategies needed to ensure the resilience and sustainability after COVID-19. And also, the second one will be showcasing the best practices of digitally enabled recovery and the new normal. And now, I would like to extend our warmest welcome to all of the participants and our speakers and panelists today to join us at the 2021 Innosight Workshop. We're looking forward to a very fruitful session today. And to begin with, I would like to welcome Dr. Chen-Nen Ling, the Vice Minister of Ministry of Economic Affairs. Please welcome.
在线上的贵宾来自越南、泰国、马来西亚、印尼以及菲律宾等贵宾代表，以及台湾研发单位代表，各位女士、各位先生，大家早安。自2014年起，本活动与东南亚伙伴们建立了长期稳固的友谊，发掘多项潜在合作机会，并推动实质合作关系。在新冠疫情严峻时期，透过这项活动集结各方的努力，解决共通问题，更具有重大意义。本人仅代表经济部感谢大家今天的线上参与与支持。这几年，区域国际经贸发展变化相当快速，必须透过区域内经济体的密切合作，妥善因应此一情势。而台湾对于产业合作的态度较为开放，愿意提供相关技术与经验，也希望在交流过程中产生更多合作机会，提升区域间技术及产业合作价值。目前全球疫情乃然严峻，为克服 COVID-19 疫情，经济部整合研发法人与产业，快速建立公卫产品供应链，进行医疗科技相关创新研发，并引导产业持续整合数位科技，以更具弹性的韧性制造作为未来发展方向。面临着不断变化的国际环境，我们将更加致力于理念相近的国家建立伙伴关系。同时，我们也乐观看待循环和绿色经济的发展潜力。2019年，我在参与第6届 Innosight Workshop 盛会时，曾在致辞中提及循环经济的重要性。这2年来，在疫情的冲击下，韧性经济以及永续发展更是成为各国关注的重点议题。除了共同致力于运用科技减少资源耗损与环境伤害外，我们将持续支持相关投资、研究和能力建构，希望可以再开创更多新的经济商业模式。台湾在资讯电子、半导体、机械及太阳能产业等领域已具备良好发展基础，在疫后的经济复苏、因应未来经济冲击之准备及创造就业部分将扮演关键角色。因此，2021年我们第8届 Innosight Workshop 会议以科研政策制定、科研机构发挥关键作用，以及数位科技整合与应用等面向，探讨疫后新常态，以更精准、精简与韧性的发展趋势，推动未来经贸环境复苏。这是一个充满挑战与变革的时刻。尽管部分国家已准备好应对全球动荡后的新常态，许多国家仍受疫情威胁。期盼透过此次 Innosight Workshop 的连结，我们能够与亚太区域伙伴携手共进，加速经济复苏，创造亚太地区共荣。 最后，个人仅代表经济部，由衷感谢及欢迎各位贵宾及产业代表于百忙之中拨冗上线参加会议。预祝此次会议圆满成功，祝福大家身体健康，谢谢大家。
Thank you, Vice Minister Dr. Chen Ling. And the Innosight Workshop has been held for the 8th time. And over the past years, the support of our regional partners allows us to have continuously collaboration on SDI policies through the platform. And the Department of Science and Technology of the Philippines is one of our most important partners. We were even honored to have them hosting the 5th Innosight Workshop in Manila. So now we'd like to invite our guest of honors, Dr. Leah J. Bondia, Assistant Secretary for International Cooperation, Department of Science and Technology, the Philippines, to give us the address. Welcome.
Dr. Chuan Neng Lin, Vice Minister of Taiwan Ministry of Economic Affairs, our distinguished keynote speakers representing their respective countries and institutions, guests and partners, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to warmly welcome all of you in the 8th Innosight Workshop organized by the Taiwan Ministry of Economic Affairs and the Industrial Technology Research Institute. The Department of Science and Technology is pleased to note the timely conduct of this event to advance the role of science, technology, and innovation towards addressing global challenges and sustainable economic development. And in the face of the challenges brought by the COVID-19 pandemic, STI's role has become even more crucial than ever. At the height of this pandemic, we have seen how STI ecosystems have developed and enabled much of the resilience that many countries have demonstrated during this health crisis. Many technology companies have undoubtedly played defining roles in our response against the pandemic, especially in vaccine development. But we cannot also overemphasize how our micro, small, and medium technology enterprises have contributed to alleviating the burden of this health crisis at the national and community levels. While various sectors have already pulled in resources, talents, and energies to better respond to the pandemic, the new world normal has cut out for us more challenging work in the coming years. This will involve developing our respective post-COVID recovery plans and ensuring that we will be able to prepare for future similar health crises. STI will be the foundation of the new normal from which we build on our work towards a more resilient and sustainable economic development. This highlights the importance of supporting and investing in a robust national innovation system that will promote a culture of excellence in research and development, a more open and efficient system for knowledge and technology transfer, and capacity building for our people and institutions. Inevitably, this will come together at the time of digital transformation, where technologies such as artificial intelligence, among others, will be tightly integrated in our social processes and systems. We hope that we could leverage these innovations moving forward to our benefit. When this COVID-19 situation has come to an end, we hope that these technologies will find more applications not only in the health system, but also in other sectors and industries where they can spur growth and development. However, developing and getting all these technologies and innovations in place is one thing. It is also important that we set an enabling environment for us to maximize the benefits of STI. Specifically, this will involve instituting policies that will ramp up investments in research and development and facilitate strategic partnerships among governments, research institutions, academic institutions, industry players, as well as MSMEs. Hence, we are hopeful that through platforms like this 8th Innosight Workshop, we will be able to learn more from each other and discuss and potentially adopt policy trends and best practices as we navigate the world post-COVID-19 pandemic. These tasks would not be easy, but we are confident that through everyone's cooperation, we will win against this pandemic, but we will also emerge stronger and better as nations. Finally, before I end these remarks, allow me to thank our partners from the Taiwan Ministry of Economic Affairs for inviting us to this forum. The Philippines, through the Department of Science and Technology, always welcome these engagements and more concrete collaborations in pursuit of our common objective of promoting STI for the people. To all the participants, thank you, and we wish you an enjoyable and productive workshop. And we say here in the Philippines, mabuhay.
Thank you, Dr. Bondia, for the wonderful sharing. And now, before we move on to our first part of the agenda, I would like to invite all of our speakers and panelists to say hi to our participants today online. So our speakers and panelists, welcome. Please wave your hands. Yes, thank you to join us here at the 2021 Innosight Workshop. Okay, thank you. And right now, I would like to invite all of our participants who are here with us at the 2021 Innosight Workshop to turn on your camera. I would like to welcome all of you to take a group photo together. So everybody who's watching our Innosight Workshop 2021 here today, please turn on your camera. We will capture the screenshot today. So yeah, right now we're collecting all of our participants today online. Yeah, you can take off your mask if you have, if you're the only one in the room, so we can capture the beautiful face of you. And all right, when everyone is ready, I'll count down 3, 2, 1. Okay. All right, 3, 2, 1. Please smile to the camera, and we're gonna capture a few screenshots as we have a lot of participants today. So. Okay, yeah, let's check if we have everybody. All right, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your wonderful smile. And thank you again for joining us here today at the 2021 Innosight Workshop. And right now, we will move on to our first part of the agenda. So Technology and Research Institute serves a crucial part for promoting R&D progress in our nation. And ITRI is a non-profit R&D organization engaging in applied research and technical services. Founded in 1973, ITRI has played a vital role in transforming Taiwan's economy from a labor-intensive industry to a high-tech industry. The mission is to drive industrial development, create economic value, and enhance social well-being through technology R&D. And so now we'd like to invite Mr. Stephen Su, the Vice President and General Director at ITRI, Industry, Science, and Technology International Strategy Center, to give us the keynote speech, Technology and Transformation Trends for the Resilient System After COVID-19. Mr. Su, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, and also all the VIPs for the Innosight Workshop, it is my honor on behalf of ITRI to give this keynote talk. And my topic is about technology and transformation trends for the resilient system after COVID-19. And my outline is as such. First of all, I will talk about key global trends after COVID. Then describe some of the business opportunities in 2020 and 2030. Then last, wrap it up with the Taiwan resilient industry eco-chain. And very first of all, when we look at some of the key global drivers before and during COVID-19, we could summarize as 4 major drivers. One is about pandemic risk control, and as you know that we are still in the period that everybody needs to be careful. And the next global trend that we see is this U.S.-China technology divide, which we will see might last a few years from now. But before COVID, we also have received very obvious trends about digital technology is here, and it's gonna change the lives of many of us despite the recent pandemic. And lastly, also a little bit before that is about local economy pressure. This is about economies and also about job opportunities. But one very major trend that we have seen only in recent couple of years is this drive for 2050 net zero. And this is going to affect many of us, not because of its 2050, but because it's going to affect 2023. Some of the regulations on tariff will be related to net zero. Looking beyond these global drivers, we also summarize what would be the impact for global trends, particularly after COVID. And the very first one is about coexistence between virus and some of our normal life. And the second one is about manufacturing being decentralized for the risk management and also for some of the geopolitics, and we call it resilient eco chains. And the next one is about local value add. As we see that there will be pressure for boosting local economy, and therefore how to have added value in the local region or country will be key. And the next one is about digital technology. It's all part of this technology innovation, and it's going to lead to a lot of digital transformation. And lastly, sustainable environment would be last, but could be very important of the 6 key global trends that we need to watch out. And I will just touch upon some of these trends in a bit more details. Very first global trend is about new coexistence. As we have seen right now, the pandemic is not going to go away soon. It's going to be with us, and we need to coexist with some of the pandemic control, and yet our life needs to move on. And therefore, some of the changes will be accelerated in the area of work, life, and many other aspects. And here we listed some of the public health along with the social interaction with change. And we need to make more use of these digital tools beyond pandemics and some of the platforms. And we just mentioned that manufacturing will be decentralized, and working from home will be part of our career path among many of us. And the next one is that digital technology, AI being one of the most important one, will be used to accelerate a lot of humans' decision making. And lastly, local production of key materials will be key, and therefore that risk management and also pandemic control will coexist in the next foreseeable future. And some of the highlighted ones are the ones that we believe is a bit more difficult for small and medium enterprises, in particular in many of our Asian countries, to cope with. And therefore, the government policy will become more important. And the next global trend is what we call resilient eco chains. It's a bit different from ecosystem. It's a combination of ecosystem and supply chain. Along with this global trend about resilient eco chain, we see that between the demand side and also the supply side will be integrated in a way such that the risk of disruption will be minimized during pandemic, during natural disaster, or for example, war, and some of the operations within the supply chain will need to have stronger elements of resilience, plus be able to respond in the moment of crisis. And here on the left side, we listed that some of these stats. 40% of the people will be working from home in few years from now, and 80% of the trade will be going through a digital model, etc. And many of us will be interacting with chatbot in the future. And on the supply side, as I mentioned, AI will be part of the decision making, consisting of 33% or more, and 40% of the employee experiences will be made through virtual and also real experience. And lastly, 75% of the CEOs in 2024 will be responsible for cybersecurity, as it is even more important during that time. About technology innovation, about 3 years ago, we did this survey among 10 emerging countries in Asia and tried to look at how they are different from the Western countries. As you can see on this chart, that on the horizontal one, this is the Asia's top 10 technology choices. Either it's self-control or it's purchased from other countries, yet utilized in own countries. And if you look at the vertical on the right, this is the choices from the global countries in more advanced regions such as US and Europe. And you could see that only two on the top right are in common. One is AI about machine learning, and the other one is service robots. And this could be understood that given the different levels of lifestyles and also technology maturities, there will be differences, among European, Western choices, US choices, and also Asian countries. But it is interesting to note that in Asian country, most of the high techs adopted will be more practical, closer to commercialization, where in the Western world, such as virtual assistant, personalized medicines, gene therapy, etc., will be more advanced and treated with heavier investment for now. And the last global trend I would touch upon is about sustainable environment. And as I have mentioned, due to the 2023 potential regulation, there is a rush to meet the 2050 net zero target. As of today, already EU and 131 countries have declared their 2050 net zero targets, and obviously EU will implement a carbon tariff in 2023. US is looking into some type of carbon adjustment fee. And some of the big brand companies like Apple, Microsoft, Nike already require their supply chain partners to follow such 2050 targets early by 2023. And this is a alarm, or some of us would call it a wake-up call for us to put more emphasis in treating our environment and also our good earth in a better way. And this would be a very critical cost element if some of the companies do not treat this trend seriously. The next one, looking at the near-term future and also the longer term, such as 2030, I want to mention that there are 5 opportunities to be aware of. One is the short term. It's almost like today. I would describe what is zero-touch economy and what is zero-border manufacturing. And the next one is about the long term. One is about zero-distance innovation. The second one is about zero-burden health. And the last one is zero-pollution ecosystem. So the first one is about zero-touch economy in 2020. And this everybody knows pretty well. Previously, we emphasized social network. Now we need to avoid physical contact, and everything needs to be in non-contact mode, such as what we have: digital meetings, remote operations, online teaching, etc. And after the pandemic, probably some of the new behaviors will lighten a little bit, go back a little bit, but most likely things will be accelerated going forward. So it's like we step forward 3 steps, we might step back 1 step, but in reality that we are making the changes faster and they are here to stay. So the opportunities with this new lifestyle is a combination of online and also offline. O2O, or it's a mix with work and life. And here that you look at some of the categories such as food delivery, Uber Eats, and Taiwan we have Food Panda, and robust delivery that will come later in replacing some of the labor force. Pretty soon for remote operation, we could have virtual museum tours that could give us more time for each of the artifacts. And we could even have a very sophisticated online sports platform. Who knows, by the next Olympics, we might even have some remote competition. The next one is about zero border manufacturing in 2020. And the key factor is that, for example, US-China technology divide will leave us with no return probably in the next decade. Further out, who knows? But in the meantime, manufacturing will move toward more decentralized manufacturing, one for the pandemic control, risk management, and the other one for boost to the local economy. However, the decentralized manufacturing setting would have a key concern in keeping the labor costs low due to different countries' living standard. And for that, the advanced high-tech, such as Industry 4.0, would come into place. And high intelligence and automation would help reduce the total manufacturing cost. It's easier for big companies to achieve this, but for small and medium enterprises, decentralized manufacturing will play a challenging factor going forward. And for Taiwan, we look at advanced manufacturing from made in Taiwan today and perhaps made by Taiwan in the future. So for example, some of our semiconductor industry will be expanding to US and to Japan and possibly to Europe in the next stage. And for Taiwan, our question obviously is what's the value added to be kept in Taiwan. And here that you could see perhaps some of the cloud-based analysis, AI machine learning, digital twin modeling, and also keeping the R&D talent hub locally. But overseas, that you could have distributed manufacturing systems, high automation, and also very adaptive production system. But all in all, that we face a very dynamic future, but it also represents opportunities for companies like Taiwan, as an example, to be more adaptive and in terms of operation and in terms of making use of high tech. And the next one is about zero distance innovation in 2030. In the short term, we just discussed things will become zero touch, zero contact. But there's always that value for people to feel the warmth about each other and also feel the warmth of high tech. So zero distance means that physically separated but virtually connected through experiences that is more than just zero touch. So we could make use of many of the digital technologies such as AR, VR, but at the end, it's about this human value. For example, that we are seeing everybody through online system, but how can you make body gesture to the person who used to sit next to you, but now is in front of the computer, mobile phone, many miles away. So there are a lot of technology and business model innovation lying ahead of us. So for example, that we summarize 4 elements for zero distance innovation using precision health combined with ICT as an example. So on the top left, that you could see changes in locations that could save time, such as telecare and also food delivery. And there is the redesigned operation element. You could see that in a hospital, robots could play a key role in pandemic control in the future. And on the bottom right, some of the services will be reinvigorated. For example, that we have done quite a bit for home diagnostics for the pandemic control. It could become a service, for example, to reduce concern for going to the hospital or taking public transportation. And lastly, on the top right, there will be renovated services, meaning new services that could come on. So for example, the online tour, the online rehab, sports, etc. And these are different opportunities for us to capture. And the next one is about zero burden health. We all live in a continuously aging and declining birth rate environment, and healthcare would become even important. But instead of treating it as a burden, in the future, we like to see that the social cost of healthcare will be resolved through innovative financing and also innovative technology. And the challenge is that can we take care of more people with lower burden? And that means opportunities for us to be more innovative, both in technology and also in, for example, insurance policy, some of the other incentives. So give you an example that in the future, that only we have smart hospital, very likely we'll also have the same functions at home, which we call hospital. And you could see that some of the health risk prediction could be done through telecare at home and remote management, such as people that need to stay at home during the pandemic control. And also some of the medical testing services could be done at home with the data sent through cloud. And later on, physical operation obviously would have to take place in the hospital. So our vision for precision health is going from hospital to home-based hospital. And the last example is a zero pollution ecosystem in 2030. Before COVID, sustainable environment is already a key topic, especially with circular economy. But we did lack some type of regulatory constraint to push things forward. So for example, some of the cost to the environment could not be easily figured into the economic formula, so people do not appreciate it as much. But with what we have discussed about the 2050 net zero being implemented earliest by 2023, people start paying attention to it. And some of the things could not be easily taken care of through the recycling. And so from product design stage, people need to pay special attention. And big companies like Apple is redefining the supply chain to be 100% neutral. So it helps for many of the supply chain partners to follow suit. And I think overall that it will be good for the overall industry and also for the overall environment. And very last section is talking about Taiwan's resilient industry eco-chain. As some of you are aware of that last year that we had a success against the pandemic, Taiwan's face mask national team ecosystem was able to produce face masks within a short time frame. Not only we are self-sufficient, but out of kindness that we also ship many to our friends overseas. And as you could see on this chart, that this ecosystem obviously is consisted of many manufacturing-based companies which happen to be core in the Taiwan manufacturing industry's landscape. And the government has a strong support from the industry and also from research institute like ITRI during that time. And not just face mask that you could see on this chart that even ITRI was very involved in the ecosystem for control and prevention of the pandemic. Things like thermal screening and also AI chatbot talking to people who are temporarily isolated from others to check their well-being instead of having real people checking in. And also we have developed some testing and diagnosis kits which are being commercialized in countries like Japan, and perhaps the next stop will be Southeast Asian countries. And also AI is playing a key role in some of the, for example, image diagnosis, and obviously we also have our own vaccine development. So the outcome was that not only that we had success control last year, and this year that for about 3 months we have a tough time, but now it's been under control. So as you could see that for 2020 we had a good growth in many of the industry tech and also technology sectors: semiconductors, smartphone, PCB, passive devices, biomedical and medical devices, but also for 2021 that we have a modest increase in forecast as well. And obviously semiconductor play a big part. On this chart you could see a special study that we have done. Not only it creates 109 billion of revenues and 225,000 of jobs through semiconductor industry, indirectly for its upstream and downstream value chain, and also the disposable income benefits on some of the service industry. It creates additionally 70% of revenues and 200 times of jobs. And so when we look at semiconductor industry, obviously it's highly integrated with other value-added benefits. So looking into the future, semiconductor will play a key role as the backbone for diversified digital applications. And obviously, even AI is not purely software. It could be combined with edge devices to give people even more consistency from daily living and also for industries. And for some of the chips, obviously, that could be heterogeneous integrated, such as AI on chip. So on this chart that you see 5G, AR, VR, IoT, sensors, plus AI could also be key applications for our semiconductor industry. And we just talked about Taiwan being resilient. So looking into the future, that we see resilient Taiwan as a key direction. Taiwan does not have big domestic market, so we look forward to be a key partner for the global industrial eco chains. And for being resilient, I use 4 figures from Taiwan locally. The grasshopper give you the high agility, the bamboo give you the high flexibility, the earthworm give you high survivability, and also the Taiwan black bear give you the high value. And this is what will shape Taiwan's industry going forward to become more resilient. And lastly, MOEA DOIT has placed a big emphasis on startup communities. And they have started with all the research institutes with this new program called TREE, which means Taiwan Research Institute Entrepreneur Ecosystem. The objectives are to give startups with some technology development programs with results. And these startups could become leaders with innovative technology, not only in Taiwan, but overseas, and they will become a unicorn to be a key player in the startup ecosystem. And as of today, more than 20 research institutes have joined. We are putting a lot of resources in helping them with business mindset change and the abilities to go to market and also recruit business development talents. So my last slide basically is to say that thanks to a lot of your help and also collaborating with Taiwan, that we have a diversified portfolio of strengths to combine culture, technology, and also in recent push for startups. And we wish that our model of resilient Taiwan industry eco-chain could become your key partners going forward. And thank you very much for listening to my sharing today.
Thank you, Mr. Su, for the wonderful speech. And now moving on to the first session, we will be looking into policy dialogue, trends of STI policies for a sustainable and resilient system in the new normal. And the National Research and Innovation Agency, Indonesia, is also one of our best friends and important partners on Innosight platform. And we highly appreciate for their active participation in many of our events. So right now, we'd like to welcome Dr. Dudi Hidayat, the Director of Directorate for Research, Technology, and Innovation Policy Formulation, and National Research and Innovation Agency, Indonesia, to talk about trends of STI policies for a sustainable and resilient system in the new normal from Indonesian context.
Good morning. Distinguished speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen. First, allow me to introduce myself. I am Dudi Hidayat. I am currently acting Deputy Chairman for Research and Innovation Policy of the Indonesian National Research and Innovation Agency, a newly established agency. In short, we call it BRIN. So in these occasions, allow me to share our experiences in managing our science, technology, and innovation policy. But firstly, I would like to convey our chairman's regret for not being able to attend the workshop in person. We would like also to express our sincere thanks to the organizer who has invited our organization, the newly established Indonesian National Research and Innovation Agency, or in short, BRIN, to participate in this Innosight Workshop. And we see this workshop as an opportunity for us to share our experiences and learn from all participants' experiences and insight. Distinguished speakers and participants, ladies and gentlemen, as any other countries, Indonesia has experienced pervasive impact of COVID-19 in all aspects of life. In tackling the pandemic, similar to other countries, our science and technology system has shown significant contribution in developing various technological products to cope with the pandemic, including test kits, herbal medicines and supplements, various types of ventilator, and COVID-related medical equipment. Also, the use of artificial intelligence technologies for testing and tracing, and the still ongoing vaccine development. At the national level, there has been a relatively successful, unprecedented mobilization of national science and technology resources. In the early phase of pandemic development, the then Ministry of Research and Technology and Higher Education established the COVID-19 Research Consortium that consisted of both ministerial and non-ministerial research organizations, universities, and also industries. Here you can see the membership of the COVID-19 Research Consortium. That is a research organization from ministerial research organizations and also from non-ministerial research organizations. Maybe some of you already knew LIPI, BPPT, LAPAN, and other organizations, which are now integrated into the new agency, the National Research and Innovation Agency. Industries was also involved in the consortium, and the local government is also participating in the consortium. It is one of the huge consortium ever established in the science and technology effort. The research consortium operates under the Project Management Office of the Ministry of Research and Technology at that time, that work also closely with the National Task Force for COVID-19. And to support the research and development activities, research funders reoriented and reallocated the available research funding for pandemic-related research projects. As a result of these consolidated efforts, in a relatively short time, the consortium has produced various technological products that help the National Task Force for COVID-19, dealing with the pandemic and reducing the need for imported products. Here you can see various products that has been produced by the consortium. There is a ventilator. Some organization has made a ventilator and made available in a number of hospitals. There is also some robot to help the medical, the doctor, to help dealing with patients. Also the test kit, and we have also developed the swab treatment. Yeah. And we have also developed the medicine and stem cell treatment, post-convalescent therapy, and vaccine development, which is still ongoing. We do expect that at the end, but in the middle of next year, it will be available. Currently, it's still in the phase of clinical trial, phase 3, I think. So this is an example of various product that has been produced by the consortium. Although in a relatively smaller scale compared to the international experiences, the National COVID-19 Research Consortium has shown that science and technology played a significant role in dealing with the pandemic problem. This is in accordance with the international experiences. According to OECD STI Outlook 2021, the pandemic has shown that science and technology offer the only exit strategy from COVID-19. The pandemic has underscored more than other recent crises the importance of science and innovation to being both prepared and reactive to upcoming crises. In a significant way, the pandemic has stretched research and innovation system to their limits and also exposed gaps and weak spots of the system. It created an opportunity to reorient STI policies and direct science and innovation towards sustainable and inclusive future. Now, in the Indonesian context, in the midst of effort to deal with the impact of the pandemic, the research and innovation system is undergoing major changes. On the 24th of August 2021, the government has decided to integrate 4 large research organizations into one single organization, i.e. the National Research and Innovation Agency, or we call it BRIN. And the task of the agency is to carry out R&D integratively that previously performed by a number of research organizations. In the first phase of the integration, which has already been done, 4 organizations are integrated into BRIN. First, Indonesian Institute of Sciences, National Agency for Technology Assessment and Application, or BPPT, National Aerospace Agency, or LAPAN, and National Atomic Agency, or BATAN. These are 4 large research organizations in Indonesia. And in the second phase, which we expect to take place at the end of this year, research organizations under line ministries will also be integrated. So research organizations under the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Forestry and Environment, etc. Now, as of now, the agency has anticipated to have more than 14 research organizations in various diverse research fields under its coordination. Now, the rationale behind the government decision to establish a new agency is to revitalize R&D human resources and research infrastructures, and at the same time to redesign and improve the business process of research organizations. And of course, to better utilize the limited R&D budget that we have. Early on in 2019, it was concluded that the R&D budget was spread too widely across many organizations, and there were many overlapped research programs among various research organizations. Now, if we analyze the situation of science technology system in Indonesia, before BRIN was established, we acknowledge there are 4 strategic issues. The first is that the utilization of science and technology as the driver of sustainable economic growth is still low. Here we can find the facts that science and technology contribution to economic growth is very low. The total factor product production contribution is only 0.9% of total economic growth. And we see also Indonesian exports are dominated by products with low complexity and also environmental degradation threaten sustainable development. The second strategic issue is the need to increase the capability of technology adoption and innovation. We look at the fact of the Global Innovation Index, Indonesia ranked 85 out of 126 in 2018. And the percentage of science technology personnel with a doctoral degree, the doctoral qualification, is only around 14% of the total science technology manpower. And the number of international publications also ranked 52 out of 239. And science and technology infrastructure is also still inadequate. The third strategic issue is the need to develop a more functional innovation ecosystem. We found that the result of the innovation research have not yet been fully converted to commercial products. And the Science Techno Park, the triple helix partnership at Science Techno Park, still needed to be strengthened. And the fourth, last strategic issue is that we need to increase the effectiveness of science technology funds. We found that our R&D budget is quite low, it's only 0.25% of our GDP. And most of the budget or expenditure is coming from government. 81% of R&D budget is from government. So these are various 4 strategic issues that has been identified by government, which led to the decision that we need to establish a new agencies to integrate the existing organization into new organization. For your information, this is the institutional setup before BRIN was established. We have these major performers, research performers, public R&D institution like LIPI, BPT, Lapan, Batam, and also under the Ministry of Education, Higher Education, of course, universities, which if and then universities under units, and also the line ministries has their own research organization. So these are the main research performers. It is supported by funding agency like LPDP, yeah, and also like DP, Indonesian Science Fund. Now, this setup is now transformed into one single organization, BRIN. Yeah. If you look further at BRIN, BRIN is directly responsible to the president. So the chairman report to the president, but there is a steering board, yeah, to help the chairman in directing the organizations. The chairman is held by vice chairman and also the executive secretary with 5 bureaus and of course the inspectorate. The major function of doing research is conducted by this organization research organization. We call it OR in Indonesian. So we have the organization research or nuclear energy, aeronautic and space, assessment and application of technology, life sciences, earth sciences, engineering sciences, and also research organization for social and humanities. So currently we have only these 7 research organizations, but we anticipate at the end of this year, there will be another research organization established under BRIN. We anticipate until maybe 10 to 14 research organizations. And to help this research organization in doing the research activities, there are 7 deputies here. First is Deputy for Development Policy, Deputy for Research and Innovation Policy, Deputy for Science, Technology, Human Resources, and Deputy for Local Research and Innovation, and Deputy for Research and Innovation Infrastructures, So all infrastructures that is used by these research organizations are managed by this deputy. The sixth deputy is Deputy on Research and Innovation Facilitation, which will facilitate the transformation or the translation of research results into use, whether it is commercial or not commercial. And the seventh deputy is Deputy for Research and Innovation Utilization, which will help the utilization of research results from these research organizations. So after the integration, almost all government R&D budget will be managed by this agency and be distributed competitively among a number of research organizations under BRIN, universities, and also industries. The integration is an unprecedented event, but the government firmly believes that in Indonesian context, the integration is the best option to revitalize the science and technology system. The establishment of BRIN that will operate under new normal requires reform in SDI policy. In this case, I fully agree with the observation by OECD SDI Outlook 2021 that main elements of science, technology, and innovation policy reform to tackle the challenges of sustainability, inclusivity, and resiliency concern mainly with 5 areas. So this is the areas of SDI policy reform. First, the need to acquire dynamic capabilities of government. The second is the rebalancing the SDI policy mix to target societal challenges. The third is to implement global solutions for global problems and to promote transdisciplinarity to deal with complex problems. And finally, the fifth area is to reform PhD training to support career path diversity. In Indonesian context, BRIN need to develop a capability to think ahead, to have a clear vision, and then to think across, i.e. learning from other experiences, and to think again, learning reflectively. Crises such as COVID-19 pandemic has shown that government need to respond quickly and effectively to mitigate the impact created by crisis and to tackle the cause of the crisis. And it cannot be done unless the government has this dynamic capability. And National Research and Innovation Agency, as a newly established agency, is aspiring to develop this dynamic capability across the organization through a new organizational structure and a new organizational business process management. In the second area, the pandemic has shown that mission-oriented research are required to fulfill economic and societal needs. But at the same time, competition is still a major ingredient for science and technology development. So the proper policy mix in terms of policy instrument types and policy target should be designed properly. And BRIN is responsible for doing that. In the third area, we learned during the pandemic that no single organizations and even no single country can tackle problems that are no more global in nature. And one of the strategic targets of BRIN is to become an open research platform for domestic research performers as well as global research performers. So BRIN's research activities and research system should be well connected to the global research system. In the fourth area, most problems we are facing is complex in nature. They cannot be approached and solved through one disciplinary research. And the organization of BRIN is designed to promote and incentivize transdisciplinary research by promoting collaboration across various research organizations, by making available significant amount of funding for problem-oriented transdisciplinary research projects. And finally, in the fifth area, we know that the main engine of research is the scientific human resources, particularly researchers and engineers. BRIN is committed to establish a research system that facilitates and promotes PhD training and postdoctoral research. Various schemes that involve global research performers to facilitate Indonesian early career researchers shall also be developed. To give you an overview, this is the existing scheme that just recently developed by BRIN to facilitate the development of researchers and also the mobility of researchers. We call it research and innovation talent development. So in university, from undergraduate, master, and PhD, BRIN has some scheme to facilitate the students, whether it is undergraduate, master, or PhD. So BRIN provides research infrastructures for them to do research, and BRIN also facilitate research assistantship and also the co-supervisor from BRIN research organizations. And for master and doctoral research, there are also research assistantship, scholarship, research infrastructure cost is covered by BRIN and co-supervisors from BRIN. And those who are graduated for PhD, entering as a researchers. Yeah? And in this area, we really think that it is important to connect the researchers to the global research performers. So there is a program for postdoctoral research. Research infrastructures are provided by BRIN to do postdoctoral research. And also some of the researchers will be employed as a researcher by BRIN, whether it is a public service or non-public service. And also we encourage to the program for visiting professor, visiting fellowship, research fellowship, by giving research costs and research infrastructures, covering the cost of research and also the infrastructure. And for higher education, BRIN also has a scheme as a research grant, and also the research infrastructure of BRIN is open to lecturers in higher education to do a research. And in turn, we hope that the researchers, the students, and also the lecturers also give contributions for industries and entrepreneurs. BRIN has developed facilities to facilitate in IPR, tenancy, pilot plan, technology licensing, and also BRIN make its researchers and infrastructures available to industries. So we hope that with this scheme, science and technology manpower will be developed even better in the Indonesian case. So dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, these are 5 major STI policies area that we are committed to develop properly and effectively. We strongly believe that we cannot achieve our goals without strong collaboration with global research performers. Therefore, we are looking progressively toward any collaboration with regional and global research performers. And we do look forward to having collaboration with all research performers in the regionals and also in the international arena. Thanks. With that, I think I will end my presentation. Thank you. I hope it gave a short overview of the existing science and technology system in Indonesia that has been experiencing major changes. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Dudi Hidayat. And next, please join me to welcome Mr. Philip A. Martinez, the Senior Science Research Specialist of Advanced Science and Technology Institute, Department of Science and Technology, the Philippines. Mr. Martinez is going to share the resilient education information infrastructure for the new normal. Welcome, Mr. Martinez.
Good day to all the participants of the 8th Innosight Workshop, Building STI Capacity for Post-Pandemic Resilient Economy Development. I am Philip A. Martinez, a Senior Science Research Specialist from the Department of Science and Technology, Advanced Science and Technology Institute, or DOST-ASTI, here in the Philippines. And today, I am going to talk about our project entitled Resilient Education Information Infrastructure for the New Normal. First, I will tell you about our project overview, and we will discuss further about the 2 components of our project and our potential outcomes. The COVID-19 pandemic has forced the Philippine educational system to shift from traditional or face-to-face classes to remote and or online learning paradigm. And because we don't have a reliable ICT infrastructure, fast internet connection is still a key barrier to the success of online learning. The lack of quality, reliable, sustainable, and resilient ICT infrastructure remains as the top challenge in the implementation of remote learning here in the Philippines. Project RAIN aims to bridge the digital divide through technology-driven tools and efficient use of radio frequency spectrum. As the Philippines shift towards digital TV, there is an opportunity to use the vacated frequency spectrum for other uses. Our project has identified two interventions, complement and not compete with ongoing efforts to improve our information infrastructure. The first intervention is the development of small-scale, community-operated cellular networks that will operate at LTE band 71. And the second one is the enhanced delivery of learning materials to digital TV. So the problem here in our remote learning setup in the Philippines is that we have difficulties in educational content transmission in remote learning due to the unreliable internet connection here in the Philippines. As you can see in the picture, the teachers are having difficulty sending messages to their students. And that is a typical situation here in our country. The solution that we are proposing here at DOST-AXT is to develop innovative solutions that will use TV channels and provide internet connectivity to support remote education in the Philippines. Our project, entitled RAIN, or short for Resilient Education Information Infrastructure for the New Normal, is focusing on developing innovative solutions using UHF TV channels to support remote education and to provide internet connectivity, since face-to-face classes here in the Philippines are not yet allowed. So we have two components for Project RAIN. The first component is local LTE. Local LTE aims to develop a low-cost, small-scale LTE base station that aims to address the lack of internet access in remote and unserved areas here in our country. The second component, entitled Rural Casting, utilizes the data casting feature of the Integrated Services Digital Broadcasting Terrestrial, or ISDBT, to deliver educational digital content. ISDBT is the digital TV standard adopted here in the Philippines. Again, the goal of local LTE is the local development and deployment of community LTE networks in the Philippines. But let us first discuss what community cellular networks are, or CCNs. CCNs are an emerging bottom-up connectivity strategy to provide internet access to unserved and underserved areas all around the world. CCNs are meant to be community-owned and operated. This is in contrast to the traditional model where the big companies or the telco companies own and operate the cell sites. This implementation is aimed to be of low power, and the equipment that being used here in the CCNs are meant to be cost efficient and will use alternative sources of power such as solar or other alternative sources of energy. The community members, which is crucial, are trained to perform periodic maintenance and troubleshooting of the equipment. Crucial to the success of the CCN is the access to their own spectrum and access to equipment that is suitable for small-scale deployments. Lastly, and more importantly, there is a communal sense of ownership for the CCNs. It is not the big telcos that own the equipment, but rather the community, and they help each other to maintain and support the network. Here in the Philippines, we have pilot CCN deployments. However, those deployments are not capable of having internet access. They only have calls, and texts. So local LTE aims update or upgrade the status of the CCNs by providing LTE connectivity or LTE internet, which is badly needed in unserved and underserved areas for us to compete or to go through the new normal. So here is the system overview of the local LTE system. For the software component, it uses an open source platform, and we will have a local portal to host digital content. For example, if we have videos, educational videos or videos that would help in the health or in livelihood, we will host it there, a file server, and the subscribers can access the content for free because it is cached or hosted in the cell site. So again, there is a content caching system and there is subscriber management in a platform that the community can manage. For the hardware component, we are trying to develop the components ourselves, and it is planned to be an electronic system assembly with a connection from the host to the user equipment, power supply integration, be it from solar or other sources of power, and PCB design and fabrication for some of the components of the local LTE hardware. The objectives of local LTE is to develop a small-scale LTE base station operating at 600 MHz or LTE Band 71. LTE Band 71 is already used in other countries that has shifted from analog TV to digital TV. Since the Philippines will be undergoing this shift in the years to come, there is an opportunity to use or to develop LTE base stations that are operating at LTE Band 71. The second objective is to evaluate the impact of providing data service through a community LTE network deployment in selected remote and isolated rural areas in the Philippines. So there will be a test bed or a use case for a community LTE network utilizing LTE Band 71. Now let's go to the second component of Project RAIN, which is rural casting. The goal of rural casting is utilizing data casting technology to supplement the educational experience of the students. So the digital TV transmission can be seen as a data pipe. You can transmit video and audio, but in order to have a constant bit rate for the transmission, it usually uses null packets or packets that are only in place to keep the constant bit rate. For data casting, we are trying to maximize the unused capacity of the stream by inserting useful data packets to maintain the constant bit rate of the transmission and as well to transmit data. This data could be in the form of educational videos, audios, or documents to supplement the broadcast that is being transmitted through digital TV. So here is the system overview of rural casting. It composes of three main components. The first component is a web app, wherein the content creator, such as the teacher, will upload the modules or the quizzes, the videos, and other content. And it will be passed through a transmitter. For the transmitter, we are looking at several implementations of it. The first setup could be a partner TV station that would transmit the data casting signal, or if the place has no nearby TV transmitter, we could set up a mini transmitter as well for that purpose. So the modified transmission stream can be received by the setup box, which we also are developing. This setup box will receive the ISDBT broadcast and the data that was sent in the transmitter. It can operate on its own, but it is planned to have a Wi-Fi hotspot so that other gadgets such as cell phones and computers can connect to the setup box and to access the content that was being received by the setup box. All in all, there will be an educational content and platform for the students and teachers to have a synchronized platform. And there will be a return channel, or for example, the feedback from the student quizzes will be transmitted back to the teacher for checking and feedback. The objectives of rural casting is to develop an educational and interactive digital TV framework leveraging data casting technology with wireless return channels. There are implementations of data casting in various countries now, and we are trying it here in the Philippines with the standard that we have adopted, which is ISDBT. The second objective is to assess the digital impact of interactive TV applications in the learning engagement of students, especially in rural areas. So by using data casting, we will try to know or to see if these interventions can engage the students in a unique way or to enhance their learning. Now we will go through the potential outcomes of the project as a whole. So for the policy and industry outcomes, we have outlined 4, but there could also be more outcomes as we progress with the project. Outcome number 1 is the development of technology demonstrators to champion for policies that will enable a more equitable and efficient use of spectrum. There is an opportunity in the Philippines because there will be a shift of technologies from analog to digital to campaign for those bucketed frequencies to be used for other applications to bridge the digital divide. And by developing the technology demonstrators, we will be prepared to present it to our lawmakers to push for those policies. The second outcome will be the promotion and implementation of relevant policies, again, governing community cellular networks to improve the state of connectivity in unserved and underserved areas in the Philippines. Right now, there are these traditional deployments of cellular services offering 4G and 5G, but the concept of community cellular networks is controversial and is a new paradigm for connectivity. So in order for this to thrive, should be supported by relevant policy changes so that community cellular networks can be given an opportunity, be sustained, and to thrive. The third output or the outcome is research and development in the areas of RF, radio frequency and wireless, aimed at product development of locally produced data casting capable digital TV receivers, 4G and 5G equipment, and other electronics. We have a robust electronics industry here in the Philippines, but we aim to have a value add it by developing and designing products that we could mass produce locally in the Philippines. And the fourth outcome is better appreciation among Filipinos on the essential role of technology and science-based interventions in nation building. By having these interventions brought down to the communities, Filipinos can appreciate the role of technology and the products and services that the DOST is pushing for, so that we can say that our technologies are serving the Filipino. For the social impacts of our project, first would be better connectivity because they have now access to the internet, and as a consequence, they could message or contact their friends and relatives even outside of their community. Second is access to information, information that could be useful for business, education, resiliency, weather updates, essentially information that could help in forming better decisions for the community. Third is health literacy. Because of internet access, they would have access to information that is crucial for the health or fact-based information that is crucial for health, like information on diseases, information on the transmission of diseases, etc. And the fourth one is better learning, because internet access, you can provide educational content and content that can be used to improve your learning. For the economic impacts of Project Rain, there could be additional revenue for the informal revenue streams that could be set up once there is a community cellular network. For example, the selling of cell phones, the selling of prepaid loan here in the Philippines, and the setting up of online shops and stores is now possible in those areas because there is now internet access. And related to this is it eliminates market barriers as well, because now you have communication. You can communicate with suppliers or other investors or other markets. Then you can expand your existing economic activities. And for that, number 3, you maximize the yields because you now have access to more people or access to more users of your businesses. And once these economic activities are multiplied or has flourished, it will attract investors, thereby hastening or the development of the previously underserved and unserved areas. It could also breed innovation because once we introduce the technologies in these unserved and underserved areas, there could be problems that they have not solved yet that could be solved by utilizing the community cellular networks or data casting technology. And lastly, we would have a more educated workforce because now they have access to information that could help them improve their skills, such as videos on how to cook or how to make livestock, etc. So here is the members of our project. We have developers for hardware, developers for software, a team for focusing on the deployment, policy and framework development, and some from the wireless research team and the project management. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about our project. And if you have emails or other questions, you may email us at rainproject@asti.usd.gov.ph. It is in our hope that the technologies we build here in Project Rain be mass-produced in the future so that no Filipino learners will be left behind as we course through the new normal. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez, for your speech. And next year, Thailand will be the host of APEC 2022, and the bio, circular, and green issue is set as the top priority of the event. So next, we're delighted to welcome Dr. Somkia Tangkevanek, President of Thailand Development Research Institute, to give us the speech for the challenges of bio, circular, and green economies. Welcome.
Hello, thank you so much for inviting me to speak in this InfoSight event. It is really important event that I have a privilege to join, so thank you so much. The topic of my talk would be the challenges of bio, circular, and green, or BCG economies. This is the new policy of the Thai government. I would like to introduce you to this policy, and later on I will discuss how Taiwanese investors and Taiwan government can work with the Thai side. First of all, before going into detail, I would like to reiterate the development goals of Thailand. I'm sure this is common with Taiwan and other countries as well. First of all, we would like to promote growth, economic growth, so that the government will have enough resources to provide services to its citizens. Then we would like to see low income inequality. And lastly, we would like to promote environmental sustainability. This is the 3 development goals of every country, I believe. The problems of Thailand is that we have experienced growth decline in the last few years. As you can see from the left-hand side of this chart, we used to experience a growth rate of over 4% 20 years ago. But now, even before COVID-19, the growth rate has reduced to 3.5. And with the COVID outbreak, we expect the next 20 years growth rate of Thailand will be lower and lower. This is a big problem for us. At the same time, we also have higher income inequalities. We used to be proud that we can reduce income inequality as measured by the Gini coefficient. During the past 20 years, the Gini coefficient of Thailand from the income side has declined a lot until 2020, last year, when the COVID outbreak has wreaked havoc to Thailand and made many people out of job. That's the reason why income inequality has increased. Consumption inequality has not increased that much because the government have stimulated the economy, providing some liquidity and also assistance to the Thai people. Looking forward into the future, it is very unlikely that without any major policy instrument, Thailand will be able to grow as much quickly as in the past. One of the major reasons is that the country is experiencing aging very quickly. That is, we are entering the aging economy. The population of Thailand, which has over 65 years old, will be outnumbered by the population, will outnumber the population below 15 years old, meaning we will have elderly more than the young. And the case of aging in Thailand will happen before many countries in East Asia. We will age before China, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines. Also, Thailand, as in many other countries, we are experiencing environmental problem, and development is increasingly become unsustainable. As you can see from this chart, we are producing quite a lot of marine plastic waste. You can see that China is #1 in the world in producing plastic waste that accumulated in the sea at the scale of around 9 million tons per year. Thailand is among the highest in the world. We are producing at the rate of 1 million tons per year. And this is causing problems to our sea animals like whale, like turtle, and also our fishery sector. So this is a problem that we need to address. The Thai government realized that unless we do something really major, the economic growth in Thailand will decline. So the government 6 years ago has announced the so-called Eastern Economic Corridor and provide a new boost to the development through developing so-called 10 S-curves industries. The Eastern Economic Corridor is an area near Bangkok, covering 3 provinces in Cha Cheong Sao, Chonburi, and Rayong. The government has already invested quite a lot of money in creating infrastructures in the area, beginning with seaports, very big new airport, high-speed rail link, motorways, and other things. And they provide investment incentives for foreign direct investors to invest in the countries. The promoted sectors are 10 sectors composing of 5 existing S-curves, such as next generation automotive or smart electronics. And also, they are going to create 5 new S-curves, beginning with robotics, medical tourism, aviation, and logistics. So that's the policy platform that the Thai government has implemented. However, it has become clear that in order to develop the EEC and the new S-curves, we have to rely quite a lot on, or rely far too much on foreign direct investment. And in order to do that, we need to invest a lot in really expensive infrastructure, as well as in attracting FDI using a lot of tax privileges. So there are criticism to the Thai government that the EEC, even though can create growth to the Thai economy, will increase income inequality, as well as putting Thailand in a position to rely too much on external economies. That's the reason why the Thai government has shifted to the so-called BCG economies. The BCG economies are composed of 3 subsectors. The B economy, the bioeconomy, is, for example, cover food and healthcare. the sectors that Thailand are really good at the moment. The C economy is circular economy, which will include a number of things. For example, producing biodegradable packaging. And lastly, the G economy is the green economy. This one is related to renewable energy sector as well as producing electric vehicle. So the BCG is the new concept, but has some overlap with the existing S-curves that the Thai government has already announced. The reason to shift towards the BCG, especially the bioeconomy, according to Dr. Suwit Mesinsi, former Minister of Science and Technology, who invented the idea of the BCG economy, is threefold. First of all, the bioeconomy in particular and the BCG economy in general will enable Thailand to make better use of its own strength, especially in agricultural and in healthcare sector. Secondly, the bioeconomy will promote more sustainable development. And finally, it will have stronger linkages to the grassroots economy. As you can see, we have already strong agriculture sector, and it can link very well with the bioeconomy. The same applies to healthcare sector as well. So that's the reason that we move to the BCG. In particular, the Thai government would like to create higher value-added economy based on the BCG. For B, or food and agriculture, we would like to develop more new varieties of plants and also conduct precision farming, create high value-added healthy food, and develop some new bioprocesses. And at last, we would like to export rather than food or agricultural products itself, but export high value-added food ingredients. For health and medicine, we would like to produce bioactive compounds. We would like to make more use of herbs and biosimilars. There will be many biologics medicine that will have its patent expire in the next few years. So we would like to make use of that. The Thai government is also targeting the so-called omics industries, which are related to genomics, biomics, and the like. And we would like to be active in conducting precision medicine. We are already good at healthcare. We would like to move up to the next step. On the G, or the energy and biomaterials, certainly we have a lot of biomasses that can help us to produce biofuels and also biomaterials and higher value-added substances. So that's the industrial target of the Thai BCG policy. As you can see, the reason, unless we can move to higher value-added products, Thailand is stuck in low value-added farming products. You can see from this chart, which shows the value add per hectare of land. You can see the yellow bar at the right-hand side of the chart. That's the area that Thailand agriculture product is concentrated in. We are producing a lot of paddy rice, maize, cassava, sugarcane, rubber, and also mango. These are relatively low value-added products. So certainly we would like to move to the left-hand side to produce something more expensive like asparagus, ginger, grapes. So that's one way to go. Another way to go is moving up the value chain, moving up the value-added ladder. If we produce something like sugar, we can enjoy very small margin with the price of less than $1 per kilograms. But if we produce biofuels, chemicals, materials, we can certainly enjoy more margin. And lastly, if we can produce cosmetics or food, the margin will be much higher. That's the reason why some major agricultural companies in Thailand, for example, the Midpon Group, which is one of the largest producers of sugar and sugarcane in Thailand, are shifting itself to produce cosmetics based on sugar. They have a lot of raw material, and they are doing a lot of research and development to produce higher value-added products. In addition to producing a lot of grains and a lot of plant-based agricultural products, Thailand also exports quite a lot of meat and fishery. As you can see from the left-hand side chart, the export of fishery products and canned fishery gradually declined in Thailand. At the same time, the export of meat has continued to rise. And when we talk about meat export in Thailand, we are basically talk about chicken and pork. Actually, chicken constitute around 3/4 of the Thai meat export, while pork is only 2% and egg only 1%. The Thai agricultural sector, as well as other countries' agricultural sector, is also arrived at a very important junction. Now, the sector is being targeted for greenhouse gas reduction. As you can see from the chart, there are many agricultural sectors that are producing quite a lot of greenhouse gases. Beef, to begin with, is really dirty in this sense. It is recently compared to coal. Producing beef will produce a lot of greenhouse gases similar to coal production or coal usage. Fortunately, Thailand is not producing a lot of beef, but we are producing a lot of rice, chicken, and pork, as I have just mentioned. And these sectors can be targeted for greenhouse gas reduction as well. So we have to adjust very quickly. In addition, there are new disruptive technology that can really disrupt our livestock and fishery sector. As you probably already familiar, there are the concept of plant-based meat already become popular in a small niche in certain countries. There are recently also lab culture meat and precision fermentation, as well as emerging sector of protein production based on insects. So if one of these products are becoming popular and becoming mainstream, that will certainly disrupt Thailand livestock sector. So this is something that the Thai companies in the sector are really aware of and would like to defend themselves by moving to the bioeconomy. Looking into detail, you can see that plant-based meat has become popular in United States. There are two major brands, Beyond Meat and Impossible Meat. I have tried that, and I think that they are coming very close to tasting like the real beef. In Asia, in Singapore, there is also some companies producing lab-grown meat. For example, there is Shiok Meat in Singapore that produce lab-grown shrimp, and they use that shrimp meat to produce shumai, and it tastes quite good. And there are yet some companies in the world that produce plant-based fish based on 3D printing. So these are the things that can disrupt the Thai livestock industries. I have talked quite a lot about food and agriculture. Now let me turn briefly to healthcare BCG. The Thai government believing that it has a lot of and really strong healthcare sector. Thailand is one of the medical hub of Southeast Asia. So we have strong medical sector, and we would like to exploit our strength to lead us to another level. So the Thai government has created a 5-year plan target to achieve a new level of healthcare BCG. In this case, they focus on genomics, biosimilars, vaccine, advanced therapy, medicinal products, or ATMPS, and also cosmeceuticals. The Thai government have set a target to increase the value added from all these products from currently 40 billion baht per year to 90 billion baht per year by 2024. And they would like to reduce import of medicine and vaccine from other countries by around 7.5 billion baht per year. It's easy to compare Thai baht to Taiwan's NT dollar because it's roughly similar. So you can understand the size of the target that the Thai government has set. Certainly, we have agreed that BCG is the way to go, but there are a few important challenges that we need to overcome. First of all, BCG is technology-oriented activities, so we cannot just easily jump from agriculture to BCG unless we invest in research and development. As you can see from the left-hand side chart, the R&D investment in Thailand has continually increased to around 1% of GDP, but that is still far too low, much lower than that of China, which is already 2% of GDP, Japan in the range of 3%, and Korea in the range of 4% of GDP. So we have to invest more. At the same time, we have also to shift our orientation of our research and development, mainly in the Thai universities, which currently focus on theoretical basic research. In this picture, you can see that it is in the Einstein quadrant, basically produce frontier knowledge and publish in medical journal, in food science journal. And Thai medical research is quite strong. They have produced strong publications. The challenge is, though, to shift from the Einstein quadrant on the left-hand side to the Pasteur quadrant on the right-hand side. In the Pasteur quadrant, instead of producing theoretical basic research, we need to produce user-inspired basic research so that university professors can publish in scientific journals at the same time, use their inventions or their findings to commercialize products. So that's the first challenge. The next challenge is we still need to attract foreign direct investment. Certainly, we have strong base in certain area, but to jump to the new level of the BCG, we need to attract foreign direct investment as well and link that with our domestic activities. The Board of Investment of Thailand, or the BOI, has provided some incentives for BCG industries. To begin with, investors will be exempted of their corporate income tax for up to 10 years. And they will be exempted or reduced of their import duties on machinery and also import duties on raw materials and other things. The BOI also provides non-tax incentives. For example, foreigners and skilled workers will be permitted to work in investment promoted companies in Thailand. And more and more investment incentives are coming. So far, Thailand has experienced modest success in attracting foreign direct investment in the BCG sectors. In the year just before COVID, which is 2019, the value of investment application in these sectors amounted to nearly 100 billion baht. And last year, it jumped to 115 billion baht. That's quite some initial success, but we still need to attract more direct investment and link that to our domestic activities. With this regard, I'm sure that Taiwan can contribute a lot to the BCG economy in Thailand. We can work together. I have a privilege to visit some Taiwan food science and some really good biotechnology companies, and I'm sure that you have a lot of technology to work with us. So thank you so much for inviting me to be in this really important workshop. I'm sure I have provided some useful idea to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Tongkiwon Nick. And next, we would like to invite Dr. Phan Van Hon, the Director of National Institute for Science and Technology Policy and Strategy Studies, NISPAS, Vietnam, to be the next speaker. And NISPAS is our important partner from Vietnam, and they always share with us the latest policy in Vietnam. So today, Dr. Pham is going to talk about SDI policies for Vietnam, resilient and sustainable development post-COVID-19 pandemic. Welcome, and also please share your slide with us.
Thank you very much to invite me to present by this valuable workshop by today. So my topic today is STI policies for Vietnam in resilience and sustainable development post-COVID-19 pandemic. Yes, okay. My point here, I will present into the 3 points. First is I will present very briefly about the COVID-19 current situation in Vietnam. And the second thing, I talk about the Vietnam government policy orientation for new normal situation. And the last one is I talk about the STI policies in responding to government orientation of Vietnam. Firstly, talking about the COVID-19 in Vietnam. In Vietnam, since the year 2000 until the mid of 2021, Vietnam is very good in the situation. Almost we can control the COVID-19. However, from the mid of 2021, the cases affected by COVID-19 in Vietnam sharply increased. You can see here, until now, we have totally cases is confirmed about the more than 800,000 cases nationwide, and in which we have about the total until now is about the 20,000 cases of death in nationwide in Vietnam. And this COVID-19, of course, it is negatively affected to Vietnamese economy as other countries the same. But in Vietnam, the GDP is seriously decreased. It is decreased from 7% until the last 3% last year. And probably for this year, we will have around less 2.5% for GDP this year. And I also have updated last night from the IMF. Probably in Vietnam GDP for this year, it is about around 3.5% by the 2021. And the domestic demand also has fallen sharply in Vietnam, and also the total retail sales of goods and services, and also passenger and cargo transportation also is a very sharply decrease in Vietnam, especially the 2021. By this economic situation, so Vietnamese government, we changed our strategy for the new normal from the zero COVID to the COVID-19 adaptation, safety, and flexibility. That way, we don't try to follow the strategy of zero COVID, but now we stay together with the COVID. And by this strategy, we have to answer different questions. 5 important questions which I mentioned here, which our government have to answer. The lockdown can have the isolated pandemic zones. The answer is no. It is difficult. So how long the economy survive the lockdown continuously is extended, and what are the criteria for safety and flexibility lifting the lockdown, and what are the current vaccine supply scenario, and another, the vaccine does not work as expected, and what would our response to be there? That is a question which we have to answer for the new strategy is stay together with the COVID-19. And for Vietnamese government, we have to pay attention about the main mission for national resilience and sustainable development of socio-economic post-pandemic. We have to adapting the pandemic and ensuring the socio-economic development. Have to adapt the COVID-19 and make sure the opportunity for development when the world major economy recovery very quickly. At that time, we have to accelerate international relation for economic, trade, and political cooperation after the pandemic, and accelerating digital transformation to grasp the rapid development trend of the world digital economy. In this, we try to apply and to push up the digital transformation in almost our sector in Vietnam, from the education, from the agriculture and other sectors. Talking about the STI policies in response to the Vietnamese government, we have two objectives for this pandemic. Firstly is preventing and adapting the COVID-19. And the second thing is socio-economic recovery and development. By these two objectives or two goals, we have emphasized on some STI policies in responding. Firstly, talking about the preventing and adapting to COVID-19, Vietnamese government, we focus on the different four main points for preventing and adapting the COVID-19 in terms of STIs, the policies. Firstly, we are focusing on the research capacity to improve the COVID-19 epidemic prevention and control. The second thing is we accelerating the digital platform in the prevention and control of the COVID-19 epidemic. The third is we try to find solutions and application of information technology in service and epidemic prevention and control. And the last one is with the government appoint to the Ministry of Science and Technology. I have approved 10 urgent STI tasks to improve capacity of the COVID-19 epidemics prevention and control. Like invest into vaccine, invest into testing equipment, and something that is for preventing a pandemic to COVID-19 from policy STI, the policy of the Vietnamese government. And by that policies, since the beginning until now, we have some main achievement. Firstly, the transportation, transport robot system for the lockdown area and in Vietnam being designed and manufactured by military technical academy. This is one tool which we achieved. The second thing is Vietnam is one of the first 3 countries to successfully isolate and culture for the SARS-CoV-2 virus. At the beginning from the year of the 2000, Vietnam is very quickly and we gather the scientists in nationwide. So we were successful to isolate the COVID-19 virus from the beginning of the COVID. The third achievement is we mastering the production technology of the SARS-CoV-2 virus detection kit following international standards. That means we are actively to have and we can actively and achieve for the testing tool in Vietnam. And the last one is for production of nanocovax COVID-19 vaccine. We are going to the final stage for release of the nanocovax of the vaccine in Vietnam. It is a recombining protein technology and monoclonal antibody drug, especially for COVID-19 treatment phase 3 human clinical trial, and is very, very soon to release. For the STI policies in response to government in the socio-economic recovery and development. In Vietnam, we also say that the STI is one of the key pillars and main driver for economic development. So for the socio-economic recovery and development, the Vietnamese focus on the some policies as follow. Firstly, we accelerate the comprehensive digital transformation, especially in the implementation of the National Action Plan following the ASEAN Master Recovery Framework. So by this, we are trying to accelerate the comprehensive digital transformation in Vietnam. The second thing is we strengthening the independence and autonomy of the economy through a focus on development of industry, materials, and mastering technology, especially support for the SMEs in this development. Because we know that the SMEs and ESMEs is facing and is seriously affected by the COVID-19 disease. And the third point is accelerating the development of digital economy. For this point, the Vietnam issues many different plans for the pushing up the digital transformation in Vietnam, applying for the economy, applying for the enterprises, and other for the social issues. The fourth main point we focus on is continue to invest in basic research on medical field for production of diagnosis, biological drugs, medical equipment. Number 5 is we invest in the construction laboratories achieving international standard for the vaccine research and development, such as level 3, level 4, biosafety laboratory, animal breeding center for testing. Number 6, the policy for fostering on the cooperation in investment in new and clean energy sources associated with the research, application, and transfer of science and technology. By the strategy and policies of the STI and for the socioeconomics, the way forward for the coming time, we have 7 assigned detailed tasks of the coming time for STI as the first. We will focus on the vaccine and therapeutic drugs. This program is for the Science and Technology Ministry is implemented already. And the second is post-COVID syndrome. The third assign is supporting the completion of high-flow oxygen ventilator technology. And the number 4 is oxygen and compressed air enrichment system for mobile medical use. The number 5 is new test method detect nCoV through patient samples such as saliva and breath. The number 6 is economic impact studies. We want to focus and to study on the impact for the economics in the different sector to find more solution for the detail and concrete the situation of Vietnam after the COVID-19. And the last one is number 7 is recommending the adaptive health and education operation models in the new period. In conclusion, I want to have some remark for my presentation. The achievements of the STI in recent years are inherent of the previous achievement, but an important foundation for creating momentum for development in new period in Vietnam. And in coming time, we will continue to coordination of the ministries and local authorities and to create the new essential environment for breakthroughs in solving practical problems, especially in the adapting to the complicated situation of the COVID-19 pandemic. Yes, that is some main point which I briefly present here, and I'm very certainly to participate with the panel discussion and to talk more detail about this topic in Vietnam and sharing with our workshop for the Vietnam situation and the case of Vietnam. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Van Hon. And before we move on to our panel discussion, please be reminded that if you have any questions for our panelists, feel free to use the chat box and leave your text message here. And now I would like to introduce our moderator and panelists for the panel discussion. Our moderator for today is Mr. Stephen Su, the Vice President and General Director at ITRI, Industry, Science, and Technology International Strategy Center. And our panelists today will be Dr. Dudi Hidayat from National Research and Innovation Agency from Indonesia, and also Mr. Philip A. Martinez from Advanced Science and Technology Institute from the Philippines, and Dr. Somkya Tangkiwanik from Thailand Development Research Institute, and also Dr. Van Hon from National Institute for Science and Technology Policy and Strategy Studies from Vietnam. And now I would like to turn the floor over to our moderator, Mr. Su, please.
All right, thank you, Rebecca. Again, my name is Stephen. It is my honor to represent ITRI from Taiwan with a long-time support from MOEA DOIT. And it is my honor to share with you with my presentation earlier, and also now with the role of moderator with very prestigious presenters just now, all four of you. And as the name of the session is about trends of STI policy for sustainable and resilient system in the new normal. And talking about the new normal, we never know what's coming afterwards. I remember that this is the sort of like a second year of COVID, right? So started from at the end of 2019, last throughout 2020. And I remember that one high school graduate from Taiwan has mentioned that she was born in the year of SARS, that is 2003, and graduated in the years of COVID. And although Taiwan was pretty successful in containing the pandemic damage last year, little did we know that we suffered a lot more this year before that we put it under control. So 18 years from now, we never really know what would be the new normal, right? We thought we had it in our control through our STI policy over the last few years. So I think it's very humbling to hear everybody is putting a lot of effort in the STI policy for sustainability and also resilience. So with this, about 20 minutes is pretty short for the four speakers and our panelists now. My main questions are as such. Now, we hope that everybody will share about 4 to 5 minutes for the first round, and if we have any time at all, maybe a 1 to 2 quick sentence wrap up at the end. So the first question is, what are the main factors that should be taken into account while making STI policy in post-COVID era? And the second question, I think, is more important for our continuous workshop, is about how to promote STI cooperation among APEC economies for sustainable and resilient future. So without further ado, let's go with the sequence of the speakers just now. Very first, Dr. Hidayat.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Xu. It's not an easy question, I think, but mainly in STI policy making after this COVID, the making of the policies should fully taking into account a new characteristic of working conditions, I think. You mentioned about the zero touch, zero distance situations, and that should be taken into account in designing the STI policy. For example, if you are designing the tax deduction for company doing research, then the systems and the consideration of the system should take into account this zero touch and zero distance approach, I think. I don't know precisely what would be that, but I think for us as a policymaker, in designing the STI policy, we should really take into account a new conditions. And in the next future, this situation will be pervasive, I think. With regard to the second question, in our belief that global cooperation is very important for us, particularly for Indonesia as a developing country. We have to learn more from other countries. And in order to improve our capacity, we have to collaborate with other countries, more advanced countries. So therefore, we design our research system, our researchers, our research infrastructure as an open platform for researchers all around the globe, actually. So we develop research infrastructures and we invite other researchers to utilize our research infrastructures, particularly in the areas where Indonesia has advantage. For example, research in biodiversity, research in developing herbal medicines. We will open our research infrastructures and our researchers to collaborate with other research performers around the globe. Yeah. And of course, we also have to improve the utilization of the APEC Science and Technology Fora. I think the need for collaboration in the new normal era is more important. So I think in all those forum of APEC, we should collaborate more, I think. So in short, I think it is very important for each nation to make an open platform of their research, science, technology infrastructures in order to open widely a chance of collaboration among APEC countries. And of course, the APEC forum should be improved to further communicate and make a plan together for joint research and of course joint solution for our common problems actually. That would be my comment for short.
Thank you, Dr. Hidayat. And I think the open platform concept is also what we would like to foster throughout various STI policy and also technology collaboration. Okay, the next we will have Mr. Martinez. Your microphone is, okay, go ahead.
Good morning, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes,
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 okay.
we can hear.
Okay. Again, thank you for this opportunity to talk about the innovations in STI here in our country, in the Philippines, and to share it with our ASEAN countries and Taiwan as well. For the first question, it's what take into consideration. I think most of us here, we have similar processes that we have made. We have targeted which areas of our economy or which areas of our RDIs are severely affected by the COVID-19. Is it in the sector of manufacturing, in the sector of health, in the sector of tourism and education? And we have identified these areas which we need help and identify the sources of funds to have this research or ongoing policies that we have to target immediate needs in order for us to recover in this pandemic. Now, in addition, what I think is important in a post-pandemic recovery is opening the ideas from our people ourselves, crowdsourcing or having an open call for the public have their ideas to be presented and have these ideas to have an avenue to be presented and to be heard as well. So I believe that the pandemic has affected us and it has sparked innovative solutions from our people, and they just need a platform for these innovations to be heard and supported in a proper venue. And I believe that in order to have a more resilient STI policies, we should encourage more open platforms for our citizens to present what they think is the solutions, because they are directly affected by the pandemic themselves. For example, if they are affected by poor internet infrastructure, or they are affected because the tourism sector is not recovered as well. So the people has these ideas and they just need a platform for them to be heard and there's ideas and potential solutions to be heard. So for an SDI policy, should be more open and introduce more avenues for the citizens to present their ideas and solutions. And for the second question, which is how to collaborate more, I think we have a common point of experience as neighboring countries, and we have similar geographic characteristics. Like for Indonesia, we are a archipelago, and also Thailand and Vietnam. So I think in addition to the open platform that Sir has mentioned, we could also extend this to the citizens of the various nations not just from the government themselves or for the research institutes themselves, but it should be open to all citizens of ASEAN as well. And thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. I also heard the cross-sourcing from your comments as well. Very good. Okay, next we have Dr. Tankim Vanish.
Thank you so much. I think you have two very interesting questions. The first one is how do SDI policy need to change post-COVID? And I think we need to consider two things. The first thing is that the policy objective might be different pre-COVID and post-COVID. For example, in the real world, you can see that before COVID, we focused quite a lot on efficiency. In terms of production, for example, we focused quite a lot on just-in-time, lean manufacturing, that sort of thing. And the COVID exposes us that we have a lot of vulnerabilities by focusing too much on efficiency and just-in-time. Post-COVID, I think we need to relax the goals of efficiency a little bit. At the same time, focus more on security. And also security, I mean resilience and other things as well. In terms of supply chains, in terms of healthcare, in terms of other things. Efficiency is a good thing, but we need to add more dimension to that. So I think SDI policy should reflect that the first part. We have new policy objectives. The second one is that we need to consider the new constraints as well. Before COVID, I think East Asia country, APEC in general, and Taiwan, Thailand, other countries in South Asia are growing very fast. So we seem to have enough resources. But post-COVID, I think many sectors in the economy will become weaker. To start with government debt will increase. In the case of Thailand, we used to have 60% of our debt to GDP, public debt to GDP. Post-COVID, as it is now, it is around 70% of debt per GDP already. And we are extending that in the future if we cannot suppress the outbreak very well. Household is also weakened by household debt because many people are out of job. And the corporate sector is weaker as well, as many companies, especially those in, for example, tourism sector, they are badly damaged by the pandemic. So I think society as a whole have fewer resources, which means we have to spend the resource we have more wisely. And thirdly, there is new opportunity, as mentioned by the first speaker, Mr. Hidayat, that we have online world that enable us to do a lot of things we would never be possible to do in the past. So the new world post-COVID, the SDI policy should reflect the new policy objectives, the new constraints, and also the new possibilities. On APEC, I think COVID is a good example that shows us that there are a lot of problems that a single nation cannot handle. Pandemic, for example, is a global phenomenon. It's a public bad. So we need to cooperate. And post-COVID, we will also face other challenges. The most prominent one is the global climate change. This one is certainly a global public issue. So one single country alone cannot solve this kind of problem. There are also many other problems. For example, plastic waste in the ocean. This is a regional issue. So no single nation can address that. And we need to come together using a forum like APEC and other multilateral forum to solve this kind of problem together. So that's my point. Thank you so much for inviting me to share my ideas.
Thank you, Dr. Tankim Vanish. Yes, global climate, I think that it's also a very common topics for us to collaborate together. Okay, and next we have Dr. Hong.
Yes, I agree with Yes, moderator Professor Su said that actually we cannot when the COVID-19 will complete. Even though we know that there are some forecasts that next year will be better. However, we have to find out our solution and perform ourselves. And I agree with Dr. Dupi from Indonesia said that we have to build the stronger system, inside system for ourselves. So by our experience in Vietnam, based on for answering the question which Professor Moderator said that the main factor we have to take account after the COVID-19, I think firstly, we have to focus on the policies, how to encourage and how to invest into enterprises in investing in STI after COVID-19. This is very important. For example, in Vietnam, Vietnamese enterprises, especially for SMEs, are facing with many challenges in investing here. So we recommend that something have to lifted from the government. For example, the tax for SMEs when they invest into STI. And the second thing is it is finance. How to help them to easy to access the finance and money from the banking and finance institution. That is very important for the firstly is a policy for SMEs to invest in STI. Second thing is we talk about the research investment. It is easy to talk and to emphasize on the research on the COVID-19. It is easy. But the more important here is which technology and which priority we invest into. That is very important. And it is depend on the situation and depend on capacity of each countries. But in general, we have to look for the priority sector in research. So it will be more effectively to invest in the research. Another thing is digital transformation, which I think as Martinet also sharing with us through his presentation, we have to push up the digital transformation, but it's how to push it up. It is also, it depends on the situation of each country. But for Vietnam, we are now successful in the pushing up the digital transformation, especially in the education, especially in education and training. It is some three main points which I want to answer and to sharing for the question is what is main factor which we focus on for the post-COVID-19.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hong. Talking about the digital transformation as well as technology needs to help research. Since we have a couple of minutes left, I just want to throw out that let's have one key priority that's on your mind right now for APEC collaboration. I will start first. I would throw in the service sector that some of you have mentioned. For example, the tourism. How can STBI policy can be collaborated to help our service sectors? Okay, Dr. Hidayat, your microphone, please. Your microphone, please. Okay.
Okay.
in my mind, manufacturing is still important for us. We still need to develop our manufacturing capacity. So Industry 4.0 is a very important issue in our case.
Okay.
We need to still develop the capacity in that area.
Okay.
Of course, service sector is also important, but this manufacturing is still very important for us. So we still need to develop that.
Very good. Okay, manufacturing for Indonesia. Next, Mr. Martinez.
As for me, I think it would be the improvement of information infrastructure. We have seen that the sudden shift to remote learning it has magnified the digital divide. And although there are efforts to improve the connectivity or internet infrastructure, there are still majority of our areas that are being left behind. So if there is a priority for us, it's that we could see the best cases from other countries on how they have improved their information infrastructure so that we could take notes and implement them as well here in our country.
Okay, information infrastructure from Philippines. Next, Dr. Tangki Vanish.
Yes, the Thai government would like to promote the so-called BCG economy, bio, circular, and green economy. And I think that's very timely. In terms of bioeconomy, the two main subsectors are healthcare and agriculture, food processing. And then circular is something that is badly needed now because we are run out of the world resources, and green as well. I think we need to transform our world to be more sustainable by the BCG concept. So the Thai government is proposing the concept in the APEC meeting next year. Thank you.
Okay, very good. BCG from Thailand, I like that. I used to work for BCG. Okay, next we have Dr. Hong.
Yes, as and other countries, infrastructure is important, and the coming years, we Vietnamese we focus on how to produce vaccination in Vietnam. It is our strategy, and we're trying to actively for vaccine production, May I that is in Vietnam, and may I return to another of the question which the moderator asked first. It is about the APEC, how to promote in the APEC and in our countries here. One main point which I want to comment and add on here is how we push up our open science and open innovation in our APEC countries, APEC members. By that way, we can share our achievement from the research, and by that way, we can make a connectivity between the scientists. So by that way, we can be easier to get the big data for the COVID-19 coming time. That is important according to my view for the how to promote in our APEC countries.
Yes,
Yeah, thank you.
okay. Thank you, Dr. Hong, about the sharing of information. So thank you again. I think that this is a very important time. Last year, I heard people talking about new normal. What's after COVID-19? Some people say it's COVID-20. So we never know what's coming. But I think that as many of you have shared our needs and also needs for collaboration, I think that it's all very important for us to work together among the APEC countries. Thank you. Thank you for all the VIPs, ladies and gentlemen, online participating. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, all of our panelists, and of course, thank you, Mr. Su, for moderating this panel discussion. And this will conclude our morning session. And right now, we'll take a lunch break. And But during the lunch break, please do not log out because we'll have a very wonderful afternoon session later. So please do join us back at 1:30 Taiwan, the Philippines, and Malaysia time, and also 12:30 the Indonesia, Thailand, and Vietnam time. And before we take the lunch break, I would like to invite all of you to watch a brief introduction of Taiwan Innotech Expo. And the link of the expo, it will be in the chat box. So please feel free to attend the virtual expo online. And right now, please watch the brief introduction.
Welcome to Taiwan Innotech Expo 2021. We will introduce the most innovative technology of information and digital in this video. The government has been actively promoting artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things to promote Taiwan to become the digital base that contributes to global prosperity and security. In this video, we will introduce 6 highlight technologies. AI-based high-density shuttle rack service system by Industrial Technology Research Institute. AI-based high-density shuttle rack service system increases the storage capacity by 2.5 times and saves up to 60% of shipping time. It effectively reduces the time from order to shipment and increases shipment tenfold during peak seasons for distribution. A6 AX Robot EtherCAT 7-axis force-assisted control robot solution by A6 Electronics Corporation. Using A6 AX58200 AX Robot EtherCAT, robot technology can effectively reduce motor drive board PCB space and hardware design costs for each robotic arm joint. AR Light Field Display Engine by Peter Ray Inc. Peter Ray, the key components provider of AR Light Field module, will occupy the world's leading position and enhance the competitiveness of our AR/XR glasses industry. The Smart Helmet by Institute of Labor, Occupational Safety and Health, and Ministry of Labor. The Smart Helmet incorporating the safety monitoring system that's capable of voice communication, on-site hazardous gas detection, uploading field data to the monitoring center. Image recognition technology in the hazard prevention of dangerous processing operations. Occupational Safety and Health, and Ministry of Labor. Through the smoothing of the images, labeling and denoising skeleton information, transformed into data and visualized to conduct machine learning training and operating action recognition models. Automatic classification and arrangement system for Sauri by Fisheries Agency, Council of Agriculture, Executive Yuan. Use image recognition technology to distinguish the direction of the head and tail of the fish and classifies them according to the direction of the fish body for subsequent packing operations. Thank you for watching this video. For more information about information and digital technologies, welcome to go to the theme pavilions at Taiwan Innotech Expo.
未来科技不再只是想象，各种创新应用已经悄悄出现在你我的